Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me is Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains.
Hello.
So, what we do on this podcast is we run through the biggest stories in XR from the previous week, and today we're going to kick off with a pretty big one. Facebook has been doing stuff.
Yes. Facebook has been selling lots of headsets. So they've recently announced their Q4 results for 2024. And Mark Zuckerberg has been touting their great success and also saying some interesting tidbits about the future. Most interestingly, he's mentioned the M word, the metaverse. Oh, that word, which has almost sort of been pushed to the back onto the back seat, hasn't it? So let's talk about the figures first. So Q4 2024 for Meta was, well, depends on how you really want to look at it. They've earned more than they've ever earned before. They just over 1 billion in revenue for that quarter, and they've said that's mainly been driven by hardware sales. Unsurprising, seeing that Quest 3S launched, so that's been doing very well. If you want to look at it slightly negatively, Meta has in over that quarter invested 6 billion in Reality Labs. So it kind of makes when you tally up the numbers, they're about 4 billion or over 4 billion in the red in that respect. But then that's kind of the way they've been running Reality Labs for a long time now. And even though Meta themselves have said they're slimming down, they have been cutting down on costs. They don't seem to be doing that just yet, do they?
No, I mean this has always been the case since Zuck's uh, metaverse collapse, which a few years ago, I'm sure many of you will remember. Zuckerberg went all in on metaverse on stage, and the share price didn't really like it. And so the statement, outward statement from then on was cutting metaverse funding going down and whatever else, but it never really did. It seemed to be a lot of talking about reducing spending and so on, but not actually happening. This to me suggests that Zuckerberg knows that shareholders are fickle and so wants to appease them, but he still believes in the metaverse as the future. So, or he and his team at least.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
So to give you some also some other figures to put all of that into perspective. Since 2020, Meta have invested 69 billion in Reality Labs, which is a fair old number. They've
69, dude.
generated since 2020 9 billion. So that gives you an idea of what they're sinking into this technology. And they're one of the few companies that can actually do this and are realistically doing this, aren't they? That's
And that quote that you wanted to share, Pete?
oh, and the quote that we want to share about the metaverse. Zuck said that this is the year when a number of long-term investments that we've been working on will make the metaverse more visually stunning and inspiring, will really start to land. So.
So, yeah, to me, that suggests, I mean, it doesn't suggest it's make or break year for the metaverse. It just means that Meta Horizons, Horizon Worlds, and so on, that has become very prominent on the Meta app,
Mm.
far too prominent for a lot of people's likings. It suggests to me that that is going to be a main area of investment. We are pushing beyond VR hardware, Meta Quest headsets as gaming devices, and into social devices, into the future of social media. Um, so one of the big things for this is, of course, visual appeal. There are people such as myself and Peter here who are of a certain age that can remember when Facebook was more than just a place to post crap. There's all sorts of games and poking people and all that kind of stuff, and that's all gone away. And it's become much more sleek and modern because it's had to. It's had to adjust to new generations of people come into the platform, new generations and older generations. And so maybe this is the point, 2025, what they're building to is when the Horizons app moves more into this direction, when it moves more into trying to capture people who aren't gamers. There's giving a reason to exist in this space. I myself have not visited Horizon Worlds for years. Years. I don't see why I would. There's so many other social VR platforms out there that are better. So maybe this is the year when Meta takes that crown. That's what I'm taking from this, or at least attempts to.
I would agree. I also think that maybe Meta Horizons isn't really necessarily catered towards us per se, because when you look at universities like Roblox and Fortnite, that's who Horizons. That's the sort of the gamers that they're trying to attract, isn't it? And that's generally a younger audience.
Yes, I mean, when Facebook launched, obviously, it's very famously launched as a networking platform for university students.
Mm,
Pete and I have not been at university for quite some time. And I imagine there's a lot of people that have migrated off Facebook because they're no longer in that age spectrum. And Facebook has become widely famous as being for older people now. Um, there are other platforms that younger people go to more. Facebook is a place you keep up with your great aunt, you know.
yeah,
And Meta don't want VR to be that. They don't want the metaverse to be that. They want the metaverse to appeal. They want it to be the future, right? And who is the future? It's not us. The future is children. So if you employ a tactic to get children on board from a young age, they will grow up with this technology.
precisely. So let's talk about hardware now. Yeah, because talking about Meta's future, there's been some new Meta rumors as well, and naturally they revolve around Quest, or more precisely, Quest Pro. Yes, new rumors from Bloomberg have surfaced saying that Meta are supposedly working on a Quest Pro successor, as well as a Quest 4. Now, kind of hearing suggestions that they're working on a Quest 4 is like, I feel for me is null and void, because they're going to work on a successor to Quest 3. That's kind of it just feels like they wouldn't stop there, would they? A Quest Pro rumor, seeing that they did so well for the first time around. I don't know. I'm taking that with a bigger pinch of salt.
I've heard these rumors over and over and over and over again about a Quest 4, like you say, by the by. The Quest Pro 2 had these rumors over and over and over again. It seems like every month someone's like, "Oh yeah, they're working on this." It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I do believe they probably are. I do believe they probably have been for some time. I don't necessarily know if I struggle to believe it's going to come to market anytime soon, but I do believe that there will be a higher end version of the headset at some point, simply to, put Apple down a peg. At the moment, they have what is considered, although it may not be for people in the XR space, we know it may not be the highest end headset available, okay? But by the general consumers, the general audience out there who aren't involved in XR, it is considered to be the high end device, right? These consumers don't know about Pimax, they don't know about Vario and so on. They know about Meta, Google, Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, so on. And to these consumers, the Vision Pro is the top end of what XR can do. So yeah, for Meta to come out with something that is like, this is our competitor for that, I can see that happening. I don't think it's soon.
No, I don't think it's soon too. But I'm feeling Quest 4 next year. Nothing this year. AR this year. Quest 4 next year.
I agree.
Cool.
Okay, moving on.
Let's go on.
Uh, the we've got something a bit different here. We've got a bit of haptics coming in, third party stuff, more hardware.
Indeed. A company called Haptikos has released a prototype for $2,500, or you buy the pair for $2,500. And these are a pair, unlike just normal haptic gloves where it will digitally represent your hands. These are full haptic feedback gloves, as in terms of they'll replicate pressure and various other functionality. So you can feel it feels like you're grabbing an object, crush an egg in VR, and you can actually feel it. It's a giant mechanical thing. I'll put a picture up there. Giant mechanical thing over your hands, and they look quite kind of unwieldy. But at the same time, it's not the first time I've seen gloves of this sort. What is a little bit unusual is that while the prototype is 2.5 grand, they're actually hoping to get their final price down to $1,000 by next year, which is then, I suppose, aiming towards a bit more of a consumer-friendly version. Have you ever tried haptic gloves, Kev?
Many, 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 many times. Yeah, so haptic gloves generally, as they stand right now, are pretty unwieldy. This is still early technology, and it's like we say in this podcast a lot, the AR devices that we're seeing are stepping stones to real AR. And the haptic gloves that I've tried in the past and these are stepping stones to real haptics. And progress is progress, right? So I'm all for it. I'm not sure. I haven't tried these, so I can't
No.
possibly comment on these. But there are a lot of gloves out there that are very good. Um, so let's hope we get past the point of good and get to great very quickly. I don't think there is a consumer angle here. Um, there will be just like a lot of third-party accessories for XR. There will be the diehard that want this stuff and will use it and will love it. But beyond those, few thousand sales, is there a wider market? Not sure. Not at
Not,
this
not,
point in time.
yeah, especially not at those prices. Like you say, if consumers are buying headsets for $500, they're not going to then buy an accessory which is maybe twice the price, are they?
Or 3 times the price.
Or 3 times the price. Yes, it's going to be enterprise customers that are going to use that sort of thing, and as cool and as futuristic as some of these kind of gloves and these sort of accessories look like, their practicality day to day is going to be, quite minimal
Yeah,
for.
I mean, I can very much see it being used in things like surgical training to get accurate feedback on when you're making incisions, and for university students, or pilot training for accurate feedback on the grip on the joystick, and so on. Um, but yeah, for home use, probably not. Okay, so moving on, we have some sad news.
Yes, it's continuing a long-running trend of layoffs across the video game industry. The latest to be announced in the VR world is from Fast Travel Games. These guys have been around for years and years, and they've released a number of great video games. And last year, in particular, they released six. They released two first-party titles and then published several more after that. But they've announced that there's been a recent round of layoffs at the company. They've let 30 staff go, so I wish them all the best. But they have essentially cited the fact that none of the games have sold well. It is simply as easy as that. It's they're out of the six games they released, none of them have sold enough to warrant having all these staff. They released Action Hero, they released Mannequin. That's probably the biggest one they released last year. And some of the third-party ones they released were like Black Forge, A Smithing Adventure, and Project Demigod as well. But yes, none of them have done well enough or within the parameters of what the studio were expecting to sell.
So I said on Twitter /X at Kev_J_, just in case. I've known the team at Fast Travel for many years, the founders, and they are so heavily invested in VR. I can't possibly imagine that they didn't do everything they could to avoid this. But yeah, I mean, this is we're back at a chicken and an egg situation that we were right at the start of VR. There is, for my liking, a lot of people argue that there's not enough content in VR. I think that's rubbish. There is so much content in VR, and we're in a position where there aren't enough users to sustain this many studios making this many games at this volume. And by volume, I mean the cost of making these games. The cost of making games has grown exponentially over the last 5 years. And there's so many games coming out vying for these users' attention. And while, 30, 20 years ago, even having an install base of estimated 30 million, was a decent install base. These days, with the cost of producing that content, it's not. And with the rise of free to play as well, there's just so much competition for users' time that premium games are going to be bought fewer and fewer by an individual. There's going to be fewer premium games bought by an individual, and there's so many premium games that it's hard to attract audiences to your specific one over the many others that are available. Hence why we often find in VR multiplayer only titles are very difficult. You have to land very well on your first day to grab that audience. It's very hard to gain it once you've already launched.
You're quite right. There are only a very small number of niche multiplayer games that have found true success, aren't there? So
Without being free to play.
without being free to play, exactly. But just in addition, Fast Travel Games' next game will be The Midnight Walk, which they're publishing. The developer is Moonhood Studios, so hopefully that maybe turn the tide. You'll see some success because it is a dark fantasy adventure and it's all claymation. They've modelled all the creatures on claymation models, and it's coming
It
out for
does look
PSVR.
lovely.
It looks gorgeous. It does look gorgeous, and it's coming to PSVR 2 and Steam hopefully this spring. So let's wait
So
and
I
see.
wish you the best.
Yeah,
And to everyone obviously laid off at Fast Travel, we hope you find something new soon. And please stay in VR. We want talented developers to stay in VR.
exactly.
Okay, and last off, we have some more sad news.
Yes, it's the end of an era for quite possibly one of the longest running MMO RPGs, well, VR games available, and it's Orbus VR. The team behind Orbus have said that they are closing the servers down. It must be because they didn't give. I didn't see any reasons why. I would assume that there's not a lot of people playing it anymore. But essentially, sales are ending in February, and the actual servers closed down on the 6th of April. So if you have been a long-running Orbus VR fan, then you've not got long left to continue enjoying the MMO.
So, basically, the summation of this podcast this week is enjoy your headset and go buy some damn games,
Yes,
please.
exactly that. Enjoy the content that's out there, the mass of content that is out there.
There is something for everybody these days. It's not hard to find high quality games on a MetaQuest headset or PSVR 2 or PC VR for that matter. So please think about it, maybe buy a game and support a developer. Anyway, on that sad note, that's all we have time for this week. I have no idea how long this podcast has been. It feels very long. But as always, we'll be back next week with the latest XR news from this coming week. And if there's anything that you would like to hear discussed on this podcast, please do reach out, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thanks for watching.